Hey YouTube, today we got 5 most disturbing haunting encounters caught on camera. Let's get into it.
Public is a DIY hunting channel based in Missouri. Their primary focus is to educate new and inexperienced hunters, and most of their content follows a very similar format built around that purpose. Their videos show the hunters going to different locations, finding the game, and usually completing the hunt by the end, all while explaining their thought process at each step in detail. And the video they filmed on September 25, 2022 was meant to be no different. Two of the channel's hosts, Ted and Nick, were out bow hunting deer on public land in their home state. Little did they know, this trip was about to be cut short by the most disturbing encounter they've ever had in the wilderness. The incident happened at roughly 6:45 p.m. while the two were hiding in a tree, waiting for a deer, when, out of nowhere, they heard what sounded like a loud scream in the distance.
What?
It was too distinctly human to be coming from an animal or something similar. And while this was plenty terrifying on its own, it was only the beginning of a much more haunting sequence of events. Because not only did the screaming continue for the next 30 minutes, it also became more manic and blood-curdling with each passing minute.
So when do we leave? He's gonna...
Things only became worse when they heard the sound of several gunshots coming from the same direction.
Huh? You just... Do we... Guys. Clearly, someone was getting attacked by a bear. And he just unloaded a mag on him. That's why there was a blood curdling scream. Blood curdling scream. Clearly. Something not good's going on.
Now, all of this still could have had a perfectly reasonable explanation.
Right.
Maybe the person screaming was being chased by a predator like a black bear and used their firearm in self-defense.
See?
However, what made this explanation unlikely were the few coherent words that could be heard in between the screaming, with the voice yelling for help and saying phrases like, "I hate you." The voice became even more disturbing after the gunshots, shouting what sounded like, "Somebody help, you effing killed her," and other disturbing phrases.
Wait, what?
In addition to the screaming, shouting, and gunshots, the two also heard the sound of multiple cars speeding off, after which everything went silent. By now, Ted and Nick were convinced they had just heard a horrific crime take place less than half a mile from their location. Unfortunately, they didn't have cell service in the wilderness to make a report, and the only way out of the woods was in the same direction as the screaming. Getting too close and alerting what could be an armed and dangerous group could have been life-threatening. So they decided to stay silently hidden in the trees for the next few hours, and only moved back after it was completely dark out. The two eventually made it back to their car and drove to a spot with cell reception to report the incident. However, from what I was able to find, the authorities weren't able to locate a body or even find any evidence of a crime at the location Ted and Nick provided, leaving this disturbing encounter unresolved. People on the internet have come up with several theories to explain the situation, ranging from a firing squad execution to someone having a drug-fueled mental breakdown with a gun in their hand. But many have also accused the hunting public of faking the whole thing, which is a common strategy by failing YouTube channels to go viral and gain new viewers. However, the hunting public had a fairly consistent viewership before this video, and it didn't increase by a significant amount after the encounter. They also have over 1,400 other regular hunting videos, this being the only one with a strange encounter. Typically, channels that fake videos have other suspicious content. The screams also seemed far too primal and emotional for anyone to fake that convincingly. Put simply, what they heard was more than likely real. Unfortunately, it's been over 3 years since the incident, and we still have no answers on what it was all about.
3 years. Damn.
You know how every year around this time, the temperature drops, everyone around you starts coughing, and suddenly you're convincing yourself you're probably fine? Yeah, that was me a few weeks ago. I kept brushing off this awful sore throat because I really didn't feel like dealing with the whole Dr. Hunt nightmare. You know, calling offices, getting put on hold, trying to figure out who's in network, all of that. But then one morning I woke up and felt like I had literally swallowed a cactus, which was my wake-up call. I finally admitted to myself I couldn't just power through it, but I also didn't want to spend an entire day playing phone tag trying to find someone who could actually see me before spring. That is where today's video sponsor ZocDoc comes in. ZocDoc is a free website where you can search and compare high quality for sponsoring today's video.
W sponsor, man.
In November 2022, a bow hunter from Michigan named Brendan Fitzpatrick was camping alone inside his hunting blind waiting for a deer to pop into view, when suddenly he was startled by a voice he didn't recognize. Brendan looked outside to see who it was and came face to face with an angry-looking man pointing an AR directly at him. Brendan tried to explain the situation, but the man wasn't willing to hear any of it and kept becoming more and more hostile.
I'm out there right now.
All right.
But I just want to show you kind of why we're here. We pay good money to hunt this property. We've been hunting it for years.
No, you ain't been moving for years. I've been here 8 years.
Oh, rifle?
Do you live on this property right here?
Sir, you're not listening to me. I'm not.
I just want to talk to you. I'm sorry.
He then told Brendan to put his phone down and said what can only be interpreted as a threat.
Put your phone down.
You have an AR in front of me. I'm scared.
Put your
And he
phone
brought
down.
a
Dude, I'm
K9
scared.
with him?
No.
Okay, well, it's going to be more scary. Put your phone down. Are you attacking me?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. I'm hunting. I'm hunting with.
Drop your phone.
Oh my God.
Phone.
Sir,
Listen to me.
I'm bow hunting. I don't have any guns on me.
I know that.
Him saying, "Are you attacking me?" while Brendan was doing everything in his power to cooperate and stay calm came off as him looking for an excuse to open fire and claim self-defense later. He also kept ordering Brendan to get out of the area while repeatedly threatening him with his gun and his aggressive-sounding dog. Brendan explained that he wasn't trespassing, and that the land he was on was legally leased for bow hunting, which was true and was something he and his family had been doing for multiple years. However, despite getting a reasonable explanation, the man refused to accept any of it and kept trying to intimidate Brendan. What made the encounter even more unsettling for Brendan was that the man refused to even state his name, making it clear that he had no interest in a civil conversation. Not only that, but he also name-dropped Chai Vang when threatening Brendan, a violent criminal who took the lives of 6 people and injured 2 more members of a hunting party in 2004. Put simply, the man was insinuating that he was willing to do the same to Brendan if he didn't comply. Fortunately, Brendan was able to stay composed enough to not aggravate the man any further and live to see another day. Brendan later tried to press charges against the man, but the police weren't as helpful as he'd hoped. They essentially told him that he didn't have enough evidence to start a criminal case against the man and left it at that. However, that wasn't even the end of it. Because a year later, on November 25, 2023, Brendan's brother encountered the same man while hunting in the area. Due to what happened the year prior, he made sure to position his tree stand more than 150 yards away from the site of the original confrontation. But for some reason, the man became even more hostile than last time and directly opened fire without saying a word. Luckily, none of the shots actually hit Brendan's brother, and he was able to leave the area without getting injured.
So why are we going
However,
back to the same
according to
area?
Brendan, the authorities didn't file any charges against the man yet again, citing the same lack of evidence. Though, people online suspect that the perpetrator might have connections at the local police department, allowing him to threaten the lives of innocent people and not face any consequences. The only silver lining in this disturbing case is that no one was actually hurt. Brendan and his family have also returned to hunting, likely at a completely different location. On September 10, 2024, at approximately 7:45 a.m., 2 fishermen were kayaking down Lake Emery in Franklin, North Carolina, when one of them spotted what appeared to be a log drifting in the water ahead. However, something about it didn't feel right. So, Mark Wilkins paddled closer to take a better look, and that's when he made the horrifying discovery. It wasn't a log at all. In reality, he was staring at human remains that had likely been in the lake for multiple days by that point. He was still a bit unsure and thought that maybe it was some Halloween decoration that had found its way into the lake. But the closer he got, the clearer it became. The remains were certainly real. And after taking a couple of minutes to calm his nerves, Mark dialed 911 and told them about his discovery.
I am fishing on Lake Emery, and I have come across a dead body.
Are you in the water?
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at it.
Okay, yo.
I mean, it could. I mean, it looks like a dead body. I mean, there's a hand sticking up. There's a rotted face. I don't know if it's some kind of stupid Halloween spooky thing, but I'm not touching it. So.
You should touch it.
Now, discovering human remains like this is disturbing enough on its own, but what made this find even more chilling was the dark implications it suggested. You see, authorities had also found the remains of a 19-year-old boy in the same lake just a month earlier, and if the two cases were connected, it meant that there was possibly a serial killer on the loose in the small town of Franklin. While talking to the police, Mark also remembered seeing a pair of Crocs lying near the boat ramp he used earlier that morning, adding another disturbing layer to an already unsettling situation. That said, the reality of this case turned out to be far more tragic than disturbing.
What?
The person in the lake was later identified as 50-year-old Ethel Marie Ogle. According to the official reports, there was no foul play involved in her death.
What?
At first glance, duck hunting seems like one of the safest hunting styles out there, especially since it doesn't require hunters to spend any time deep in the wilderness or running into...
No foul play? You need more information on that. How did she get in the water? Then you found a dead body a month ago in the same lake. Yeah, man. No way.
The angry predators like bears or bobcats
No
is
way.
a constant concern. However, duck hunting, just like most other outdoor activities, comes with its own set of risks. Something Ethan from the Lucas Reinsch YouTube channel became well aware of in November 2020. He was out hunting ducks with a shotgun early in the morning while the sun was barely up. After staking out on a beach for a few hours and waiting for the ducks to gather, he found a target and managed to shoot it down. The duck fell a bit too far into the water, but without a boat, his only option was to wade into the water to retrieve it. And that's when everything went wrong.
What?
Ethan had plenty of duck hunting experience under his belt, but he wasn't completely familiar with this particular lake and didn't know about the sharp drop-off a few feet off the shore. So as he got closer to the duck, the ground suddenly dropped off from under his feet, leaving him struggling to stay afloat.
And you swim back. And you swim back. Swim back. Swim back. Swim back. Swim back. Swim back.
He also knew how to swim, but that wasn't as big of a help as he'd hoped it to be. The biggest issue at hand were his waders. They became filled with water, sinking him deeper while also making it near impossible to move in the water. Under normal circumstances, staying afloat is relatively easy for anyone who knows what they're doing. However, water-filled waders make this otherwise simple task infinitely more difficult, as drowning becomes a stronger possibility with each passing second. To make matters worse, the water Ethan was in was also extremely cold. Even if he could stay afloat with heavy waders, he still risked contracting hypothermia and passing out before drowning.
Why would you go
the
in the
cold water
for
was also tensing up his muscles and making it difficult to keep moving. And to top it all off, he was also completely alone on this trip. Having someone with you on any nature expedition increases the chances of survival exponentially. Even if a partner isn't able to help directly, they can at the very least call for help. Ethan, however, didn't have that option. All he could do was keep his calm and keep swimming toward the shore with all his energy. Fortunately, this worked. After a brief but intense struggle, he was able to find the underwater ledge and make it out relatively unharmed. And while his determination and level-headed approach certainly helped, his surviving the incident was nothing short of incredibly lucky.
Oh, I would never hunt again.
In May 2017, 45-year-old Richard Wesley was out bow hunting in Ontario, Canada, when he suddenly came face to face with the last animal you want to see in the wilderness, a bear. He initially tried to lay low in the bushes and hoped the bear would walk away without noticing him. Unfortunately, he was in a wide open area, resulting in the bear seeing him and coming toward him. One of the only options he really had left at this point was to run away, which, considering a bear's top speed of up to 35 miles per hour or roughly 55 kilometers an hour, wasn't really possible. Or he could stand his ground and try to scare the bear away before it got too close, because if the bear actually decided to attack, Richard would have no real way of winning that fight. Black bears can generate a bite force of up to 1,000 psi with their 2.5-inch long teeth, which is enough to easily fracture a human skull or even sever the head completely from the neck. Adult black bears can also weigh up to 600 pounds or 272 kilograms.
Yeah, man, you gotta
In other words, once a black bear is on top of you, there's no practical way to get it off. Plus, the weight alone can also cause asphyxiation within seconds. not to mention the 2-inch long claws that can leave deep lacerations down to the bone. So even if the bear decided to leave Richard alone after a single claw swipe, he would have likely bled out right there before help arrived. With all this in mind, he stood up and tried to intimidate the bear. Unfortunately, this backfired horribly. Instead of running away, the bear lunged at Richard and slammed into the ground. For a moment, he thought this was the end, but as he was falling down, something exceptionally lucky happened. The wooden bow Richard was holding in his hand got shoved into the bear's jaw. This not only kept the bear from shredding his arm, but biting into the wood also disoriented it enough to make it turn and leave Richard alone. So, despite coming dangerously close to losing his life, Richard was able to walk away with only a few minor bruises.
Was your car just
But
right
while
there
he
the entire
escaped
time?
physical harm, the psychological
Boy, I
impact
would've
of
made
this
that run.
attack on him and his family was significant.
If his car was that close, I'm taking that run. I'm taking that run. You tell me your car was that close and you said, I'm going to stay on my motherfucking ground? Yeah, you're real nigga, man. Going out swinging.
As he
You went out
stated in an
swinging.
interview later, "We watched the video footage. My stomach just tightened, and my wife started crying. Instead of admitting that I'm scared, and I probably should have went and talked to a professional about what happened, but I just downplayed it." That said, the experience also left Richard with a far deeper appreciation for the life he has.
That's scary as shit, bro. I would have been gone, bro. I would have. If my car was that close, I would have hit the dash. I'm not gonna hold you, chat. I would have got up out of there. That is crazy. There'll be a video though.